Turn on your inner light show. It's time to stop just surviving, and it's time to begin to thrive. It's time to live happier and healthier. Turn stress into strength. Noted author Debbie Mandel will show you how to move beyond personal doubts and fears and into positive perception to turn on your inner light. Here's your host, Debbie Mandel.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my show. Our guest expert is Dr. Rick Hanson, a neuropsychologist and meditation teacher, affiliate of the Greater Good Science Center at the University of California, Berkeley, and author of Just One Thing. Learn how to strengthen, stimulate, and even change your brain to improve your life. Welcome, Rick.
Hi there, Debbie. Pleasure to be here, and greetings to everybody listening.
Now, Rick, why do we have upsetting reactions when nothing bad has happened?
You mean nothing bad literally has happened? You come home, the dishes are done, the kids are cheerful, your partner has actually helped with housework, and there are no bills? You mean something like that, and you still feel blue?
Or what I was really, you could say that, but I was really thinking about maybe you've taken an action or you're contemplating a shift in your job, and you already are going to negative reactions, like knee-jerk reactions, and like in catastrophe mode for the future.
Yeah, well, that's a really great question. It's because deep down, the brain is a learning organ. It learns, and so we learned typically earlier in life to fear certain things or to worry about certain things or to expect or anticipate things. You know, the brain is constantly creating an expectation of what it's going to be like. The problem is, as I talk about in the book, Just One Thing, the brain is biased toward the negative. That's what helped our ancestors survive. You know, avoid those sticks, right? Rule 1 in the wild is eat lunch today, don't be lunch today. But today, unfortunately, that makes the brain like Velcro for negative experiences, the Teflon for positive ones. So a lot of our expectations about what might happen if I reach out in my career in a new way, or if I actually lose 10 pounds, or if I speak from my heart with my partner, or if I lay down the law for the kids in a new kind of way, we get worried about what will happen, but very often those expectations are tilted toward pessimism, and it's unfair for us, and it actually harms us, and also harms the people we live with and love.
So what, if I understand you correctly, it's an evolutionary trait, and it's also environmental, nurturing, and positive, and possibly genetic. You know, I think there are genes for shyness. There could be genes for this kind of worry. So we're dealing with that. Now, on that note, why are we so self-critical?
Well, for one, we're tilted toward the negative, so every little failing we notice, the brain registers it immediately, fast-tracks it into emotional memory. But all the things that we do get done kind of wash through the brain like water through a sieve. Plus, think about all the bad things that could happen that don't happen. Do we notice those? You know, do we credit ourselves for those? No. And then classically, as you say, there are environmental factors. For example, women, as a generalization, some exceptions to be sure, but still, as a generalization, women are trained, socialized, to take responsibility for other people, often way beyond their capacity to truly influence those other people in good directions. And having a bigger circle of responsibility than the circle of your actual power or influence is a prescription for mental illness. You know, it's a prescription for anxiety, depression, feeling inadequate, and so forth. So there are a lot of reasons that people are tilted towards self-criticism. I personally think the right way is the middle way, you know, where we hold ourselves to account for what really is problematic, but we're fair with ourselves. I have what I call the best friend test, or the good friend test. Would we treat ourselves like we try to treat a good friend? And I think that, you know, if we would treat a good friend in a certain way, we might point out to our good friend that he drinks too much, or he's getting, you know, needs to do some more exercise, or talks in a harsh and nasty way sometimes. We might say that to a good friend or a good partner. Well, okay, there's a place for bringing that to ourselves, but we don't go overboard with a good friend. And people routinely go overboard with themselves.
So how do I befriend myself if it's not natural for me? And how do I stop the self-criticism? I mean, you had a section in the book, and I think that's very important, because some men are self-critical, too, are harsh on themselves, especially if they lose their job because we identify with our work.
Sure.
But especially for women, and you also had a section on your body, because women are very critical of their bodies. And I think of men and women have a harder time aging. Would you agree with that?
Oh, that's what much research shows. Again, always whenever we talk about gender, we're generalizing. There are exceptions, to be sure, but sure, it's a generalization. It's definitely harder for women. I mean, you see it in Hollywood. I mean, there are a lot of good roles, like George Clooney, for men in their 40s and 50s, and very few comparable roles for women. So how to do it? Well, you know, in the book, for example, I'm really zeroed in on these little things that will have big results. So the first chapter is Get on Your Own Side, which is very central to this matter of befriending yourself. I mean, it's Rabbi Hillel, his famous line, if you're not for yourself, who will be? And if not now, when? So, for example, if the foundation of every kind of saying is to be for yourself, not against others, but for yourself, both for your own sake, and also, just like they say in the airplane, put your own oxygen mask on first. In other words, by getting our own cup to fill up, we have then more to offer other people. So that's step one, and I think step two, which is also the second chapter in the book, and these chapters are like 3 pages long. They're really super short. Take in the good. That's so critically important because the brain is biased to the negative. And yet, if we just take 1 or 2 dozen seconds at a time to actually experience a good quality about ourselves, or a sense of an accomplishment, or to take in the sense of another person liking us, or approving of us, or being grateful to us, but just staying with that 1 dozen or 2 dozen seconds in a row, we force the brain to build structure as a result. The brain is constantly building structure. The only question is it for better or worse? And also, who's doing the structure building? Are we in charge of that process, or forces outside us, like other people who are critical of us, let's say, and then we're like a sponge, the brain's like a sponge for the negative, and we soak in the stain of that criticism, and then we make it a part of ourselves. That's why I think it's really important to not look at the world through rose-colored glasses, see the world clearly, but register these positive experiences 1 or 2 dozen seconds at a time, so that we build up supplies inside for the difficult road of life.
That's very interesting, because I tend to see the world through rose-colored glasses by making up positive stories. I think I've done that since childhood. So I can say that it does create a positivity bias when you do it all along, so that I automatically reinterpret something negative to let it go. But maybe that's not a good thing. Well, we're going to go to commercial break, and we will return with Dr. Rick Hanson, author of Just One Thing.
Now you can take Debbie Mandel home with you. Her book, Turn On Your Inner Light, Fitness for Body, Mind, and Soul, will help you decompress with healthy, positive, concrete solutions. Common life challenges are presented so that you can quickly find the help you need. Emotional tips, original meditations, and a fun and easy-to-follow fitness workout for each mindset. This revolutionary new method will help you rewire mind and body to take back your power. Get it on Amazon.
Are you overwhelmed with the burden of taking care of children, parents, or both? Are you taking care of everyone else except yourself? It's time to change your habits and re-energize. Debbie Mandel gives you an innovative and easy-to-follow program for good health and happiness. In her magical new book, Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout, Debbie Mandel shows you step-by-step how to find the optimal balance between giving and receiving, and guides you to exercise and eat right to take care of yourself. What are you waiting for? Read Changing Habits and start training for your life. Life does not need to be a burden. Get Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout on Amazon.
You're listening to the Turn On Your Inner Light show. I'm your host, Debbie Mandel, and I'm speaking with Dr. Rick Hanson, author of Just One Thing. You know, Rick, part of our problem is that we can't relax, and we even on vacation. Yeah. So how do we relax, and why is it that we can't relax?
Basically the brain evolved two settings, and they're both important. One setting is relaxed and happy, basically. The other setting is revved up and typically worried or driven. And our ancestors evolved that second setting because it works for short bursts. The problem is modern life is this chronic, stressed, setting, which becomes the new normal. And frankly, a lot of times it becomes habitual for people. So it's hard for them to get back off the ledge, as it were, and calm down. That's why, to me, it's so important to actually be able to pull out of this stressful activation, because stress is really bad for long-term physical and mental health. It's probably the number one cause of death in America today, literally, the gradually accumulating impact of chronic stress, because it's the foundation of lifestyle illnesses like cancer and cardiovascular disease, and other sorts of things that end up killing people. So that's why I have a number of chapters, actually little practices in the book, to get out of the red zone, come back into orange, yellow, and then hopefully chartreuse and even green. And one of the tricks, I'll just tell listeners a trick, do several long exhalations in a row. In other words, where the exhalation takes about twice as long as the inhalation. I love these methods because you can do them when the in-laws are over or you're stuck in traffic or at a business meeting. No one needs to know you're doing it. And yet, if you do it, it'll activate what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, that part of the brain that is the rest and digest system that's separate from, or it's the balance to, the stress response sympathetic nervous system. Literally just several long exhalations. I think, to finish up, getting better and better at flipping a switch inside ourselves to come back out of the red zone, at least into yellow, and ground more in this parasympathetic nervous system setting of the brain is really important for personal well-being as well as for long-term health.
That's what I liked about the book. First of all, the title, Just One Thing. It's almost like when you have a phone conversation with someone, you say, just one more thing. and then the just one thing part was that from my busy lifestyle, I can get real nuggets of wisdom. I mean, you chiseled it down in like practically 25 words or less. I mean, but these are concepts, and they're scientific, and they're psychological, and they're concrete. And I said, wow, this is pretty impressive, because I think, Rick, it's harder to be brilliant when you're brief.
Well, the classic line, I think, from Mark Twain, he got a request, and he said, I don't have time to write a 500-word piece, but I do have time to write a 5,000-word one. In other words. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. From you, a writer, to me, I particularly appreciate it.
And also a New Yorker. We're in
tough there you are. I'm more from California, a little mellow. But
you're like, have a nice day over there,
That's right. This book is written for New York Minute types. No, I definitely, we're busy these days, and we get pushed around. We can often feel kind of helpless by it. And I think it's just great to have one corner of our life inside our own mind, actually, where if we just do a little thing, like get on your own side or take in the good or relax or enjoy your hands or find beauty or relax anxiety about imperfection or forgive yourself or befriend the body, befriend your brain, any one of the multiple little chapters in the book, if we just do that little practice and we make it a focus for an afternoon, a day, a week, 1 week at a time if somebody wants to do that, because there are 52 of the practices in the book, that's a great way to take charge of ourselves from the inside out and know that we are truly building new structures in the brain as a result.
And neuroplasticity is now all the rage. It's the biggest buzzword, and it gives hope to people. I try to achieve it through exercise. So for me, it's lift weight, lift your spirits, increase focus that way, and, the miracle grow for the brain, BDNF, it's all generated. And I think, why not give yourself a good message, a positivity bias while you're working out? Think it, do it, That's what I tried to see, it, to create that auto-hypnotic circuit. Now, I loved your chapter on slowing down. You gave such concrete tips. I said, what's he going to do with this? Can you share one or two?
Oh, thank you for saying that. Well, let me just kind of think about this for one quick second. Well, I think to slow down, I mean, I could talk about a little bit, in the book itself, but I'll just kind of do it more directly here. Because, for one, I think it's to take charge and not let other people push you faster, right? Mm-hmm. Right off the top, if you think about it, all kinds of people, I'm sure, especially on the East Coast, but we got them here in, busy San Francisco Bay Area too. They want you to get it done at their pace. But I remember this sign I saw in a gas station once, something like, your lack of planning does not create my emergency, And so that's one thing. It's just to stand up for yourself and not let other people, often it's a kid, Mommy, give me this now,
Yes.
Or people at work, I gotta have it. Well, sorry, I don't have time to do that. Or, well, I could give you that, but you also want X, Y, and Z, and one of them has got to budge. You tell me, and then I'll do it for you. No worries. Without a lot of attitude, hopefully. So I think that's part one, is take charge. Part two is to, at those little intervals between a task, you finish an email, take one breath, right? You leave a meeting and you're moving to a different meeting. Walk a little more slowly. Make yourself go to the bathroom, or just, even if you're only just going to wash your hands. Mm-hmm. When you're chewing, taste the food. You know what I mean? Or I found myself doing this. It's the funniest thing. I will eat, and I'm chewing away, and meanwhile, I will create a second forkful or spoonful, and then I'll hold it up in the air near my mouth while I'm still chewing. Like, why am I doing that? As if, you know what I mean? I need to chew faster.
We have to go to commercial break, but that's very funny.
Yeah.
We will return with Dr. Rick Hanson, author of Just One Thing. Dear listeners, I'm excited to tell you about my new book, Addicted to Stress. This is the message you need to hear. Are you addicted to stress? Do you do it all while everyone depends on you? Where's all this pressure coming from? It is coming from inside you. This is why my publisher, John Wiley, asked me to write Addicted to Stress, a woman's 7-step program to reclaim joy and spontaneity in life. This fun-to-read book teaches proven strategies to reclaim your life, silence your inner critic, build a healthy body, and reframe your thoughts to change your life for the better. Dare to be happy without the guilt. Addicted to Stress is easy to get. It's available at Barnes & Noble and other fine bookstores everywhere. You can also buy it at Amazon and other online retailers. We're back with Dr. Rick Hanson, author of that golden nugget of a book, Just One Thing. Now, Rick, if mindfulness is natural, really from an evolutionary point of view, why do we have so many problems with it?
Well, I'm not sure mindfulness is natural, actually. If you think about it, animals living millions of years ago, they were all zen, looking out. Oh, wow, look at the light on the leaves. Chomp. They got eaten, right? Because they weren't...
I think of mindfulness, though, as this intense awareness, this heightened focus. So I think if you're an animal or you're a caveman, you're going to be mindful of everything you're doing and not distracted.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you're an animal or a caveman, you've got to be very distractible. Because if you hear any little thing around you, and even if you just get a vibe, you've got to respond to it. But if you think of... I'm not going to put it...
That's interesting,
yeah. Being attentive, to be sure. You watch a cat stalking a mouse or, some kind of bird, looking around. You got to be attentive, but if you watch an animal in the wild, its attention is skittering from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. Whereas mindfulness more is a quality of sustained presence, being just kind of really present in the moment. So that's just part one. But for sure, we can develop these capabilities. I mean, research shows that when people are mindful, they actually build thicker layers of brain tissue in parts of the brain that have to do with controlling attention. You're building up the muscle, so that's good because you're using it. And also tuning into themselves and being more empathic for other people. I mean, if you want to become more empathic for other people, or you want to encourage your partner to become more empathic to you, one great pathway into that is to repeatedly tune into the body, which doesn't have to be done in formal meditation. You can do it in Pilates, walking the dog, just really staying present in your body while you do the dishes, let's say, or walk to work. And of course, you could do it in something like meditation or prayer as well. I think mindfulness training is increasingly recognized. The Defense Department is now using mindfulness training in what they call comprehensive soldier fitness programs, mental toughness. And if the Defense Department, or the Pentagon, is going to be interested in this stuff, we're way beyond the woo-woo factor here. Corporations are using it. They're teaching it for peak performance and stress management. Hospitals are using it, mindfulness training to improve healing from wounds and help people strengthen their immune system.
It also makes you less accident prone. I mean, I see so many people getting hurt because they're so easily distractible. That I attribute to technology overload. Do you agree?
I think that's part of it. People, if you think about it, we evolved to handle a lot of stuff in short bursts. But those sprints back in the Serengeti have become the new marathons. In other words, we evolved to handle short bursts of lots of information coming in about something or other. But these days, it's a constant diet. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose to stay on top of things. I knew we were in trouble when our daughter, who was getting straight A's in high school, was writing a paper. I watched her writing a paper while listening to music and having 4 instant messaging windows open with her friends, right? And
multitasking.
Yeah. And hey, there's a place for that, and it's okay. She did great in school, so no worries. But the point is that the brain did not evolve to handle that, and it's kind of stressful.
And the brain is changing maybe to handle that. Yes, it is addictive, but in her defense, it probably relaxed her.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's the point of the multitasking there, to relax you so you're not stressed while you're writing a paper. It will take you longer to write the paper, right?
I would say, yes, that's true, but it's a yellow flag, because I think a lot of times it's not, how can I put it, what actually happens is that we become addicted to an incoming rate of stimulation that is actually subtly stressful. And we notice that when, for example, we do go on vacation.
But our time together has just flown. And on that note, we're going to have to leave this as a cliffhanger.
Oh, no, it's good. When we go on vacation, we notice how stressed out we've gotten, just being caught up in all our busyness.
Yes, hard to unwind. Well, do you have a website where we can visit and learn more about your stuff?
Oh, great pleasure. RickHanson.net. It's chock full of freely offered materials. People can listen to talks I've done. They can download slide sets from workshops I've done. They can read things. It's all freely offered for people. RickHanson.net.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. And we can't wait for your new book to come out. And we're going to have you on again. We're not
thank you, Debbie.
We're not letting go of you.
That's good.
Be well.
Thank
Affirmation of the week. Meaning and purpose are often found in ordinary moments. And now for the latest medical trends. Taking calcium supplements put many people at greater risk of heart attacks. Be careful of getting these artificial supplements, pills, and that's what I mean by artificial. Go for the foods. Talk to your doctor if you really are deficient. Not only is it safe for people with asthma to exercise, but doing so could reduce their risk of asthma symptoms or attacks, according to new evidence in the Cochrane Library. Florida University announced the availability of a new medical device that uses musical lullabies to help premature babies overcome one of their greatest growth hurdles. The innovative device is known as the Pacifier Activated Lullaby, or PAL. 72% of teenagers participating in a study experienced reduced hearing ability following exposure to a pop rock performance by a singer. What a surprise. Happened in my day, too. A study to evaluate birth control methods has found dramatic differences in their effectiveness. Women who used birth control pills, the patch, or vaginal ring were 20 times more likely to have an unintended pregnancy than those who used longer-acting forms such as an IUD or an implant. Something to consider. There is a bias found in mental health drug research, and this was presented at a major psychiatric meeting. Patient care nationwide may be affected when research on medications contain only the good news, especially when the research is industry funded. But I think we all knew that. I'm glad it's brought to the attention of the Psychiatric Association to look at what the commercials are advocating us to skip on the beach and buy to feel happy and blissfully so. Well, we come to the close of another show. I have an educational website on stress management, totally free, turnonyourinnerlight.com, where all the radio shows with the guest experts are archived for your listening pleasure. So subscribe to my free newsletter from turnonyourinnerlight.com, and you will get the latest radio show emailed directly to you. It's on YouTube. Just click and it'll take you there. Fresh new article on stress management and all the health tips, the ones I don't get to announce on radio because I'm out of time, fully delineated for you from turnonyourinnerlight.com. Have a wonderful week and see you on the radio.